Hey everybody, it's Stephen here and welcome back to my channel. So for Tag Tuesday this week, I'm going to be doing the mid-year Freakout book tag. Yes, it's running late, but this is the first chance I've had to sit down and record it. Without further ado, let's get into that tag. So question 1, the best book you've read so far this year. Now this is a tough one. Can I pick more than one book? Because I don't think I can actually narrow it down. Can I do a top 5, a top 3 maybe? This is going to be a tough one. Okay, I'm going to give you my top 3. I can't narrow it down between these. So the first one is Ascendance of the Bookworm series. I have absolutely adored that series and I keep on counting the days until the next one is translated and brought out, as I'm sure you're pretty much aware of if you tune into my channel on a regular occasion. The second one is one I didn't expect to be saying, and that is How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. It's one I picked up 2 to 3 weeks ago and I am already on book 6. I have just stormed through that series and I have absolutely enjoyed the character building and the world building in the series. It has been a delight to read and I want to keep on reading it, but I'm putting it down for a couple of weeks because I've got a couple of other series I want to get into as well. So just give myself a bit of a break from that one, even though I'm loving it too much to want to actually put it down. And last but not least, I would probably say my Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. While it's not a new series like The Ascendance of a Bookworm, it's one that I've been reading ever since I picked up light novels about 2.5 years ago, and it's another one where I count down the days until the latest translation is out there. And if I remember right, we're on book 13 and the Japanese one is up to book 21, I believe. So we're actually quite far behind in the English translations. So there's loads of books in that series I just cannot wait to get to. And it's not just a light novel, it's also the manga as well for both the Death March and for the Ascendance of a Bookworm. I'm not quite sure if the Realist Hero has a manga yet, but I will be looking into that one. Okay, so that sort of skewered the first question a bit, so let's go on to question 2. The best sequel you've read so far this year. So a lot of my books are sequels or series based, so it's trying to find one. And again, I'm going to go with multiples here. I can't actually narrow it down to just one. Okay. I'll make a decision. I won't use Ascendance of a Bookworm and I won't use Death March because I used those in the previous one, even though the sequels to previous books have come out this year. So let's pick something else where it's a brand new book that I haven't mentioned. So I would say, Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life? Now, I've read that one last year, that's when I started it, and then I've read a couple of books that have come out this year, and I have loved how the story has been progressing. I think there was probably one book in the entire series that just made me think it doesn't quite feel right, but apart from that one book, the entire series has been fantastic. And I've read the light novels, let's have a quick check, 11 and 12 this year, so I'd say those are the 2 sequels that I've loved the most this year. So I will keep it down to just one this time, even though I could probably go on and on, but then I probably wouldn't have any books for any future questions. Okay, down to question 3. New release you haven't read yet but want to. So for me, that's got to be Uncle from Another World. It's one that I mentioned in my upcoming releases section, and it was due out in June, but I haven't managed to pick it up yet. Now, I want to read the manga and the light novel for this one, and I believe, if I'm right, only the manga is available at the moment. I'm going to wait until the light novel is available at the same time, and I'm going to read them both at the same time. So I'll probably read the light novel first and then read the manga afterwards, because I tend to like reading in that kind of order for my books. So that's going to be the plan. So hopefully that should be out in the next couple of months. I am keeping an eye on the latest publishing date, so hopefully I will see a publishing date for that soon. If, however, it's not getting a light novel release, I'll probably pick it up in the next couple of months in manga version only. Okay, on to question 4. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Again, this is a good one. There's a lot coming out that I'm actually looking forward to. But I would say, let's have a quick look which one it is. That's it. It is Arifureta from Commonplace to World's Strongest, number 12. Why am I looking forward to this one? Probably more than any of the other ones. It's because it's the final one, or the concluding part in the story. Now, I believe there's a number of after story written in the web novel, which will probably be published in the light novel as well. But book 12 is promising to be the concluding part to the overriding story arc, and I cannot wait for it to be released because I've been loving this series from start to finish. It is a very laugh out loud kind of book, and it has so many tropes in it that it is unbelievable, and it is something I've loved. I even like the spin-off series for this one, which is From Commonplace to World's Strongest 0, and the manga adaptations for both the original light novel and for the spin-off series Commonplace to World's Strongest 0 as well, and I own all of them. Now, if you want to know a bit more about this series, well, about the spin-off at least, I have done a review video on that. And I've reviewed the first 3 books, if I remember rightly, and I've not long finished book 4, so I might look at doing an update on that one as well. So keep your eyes posted on the channel if that's something that interests you. Okay, question number 5, your biggest disappointment this year. It's a bit hard. I haven't really been disappointed in many books. I would have to say, if I was to pick one, it would be, if it's for my daughter, I'd Even Defeat the Demon Lord. It's a book that I really looked forward to starting reading, and I really loved the first 3 light novels. I even enjoyed book 4 to some extent, but the pacing changed in it around book 4, and then the books 5, 6 and 7 all went to short stories, and they didn't have any coherency in them. So the book itself follows 2 main characters, one who's an adult and then one who's a child, and you watch as the child grows from an 8-year-old until her early 20s. And when you get to the short stories, instead of having one book devoted to her childhood, one devoted to her teen years, and then one devoted to her later early 20s, which for me would make sense, each story bounces backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Now, I can understand if they're just trying to keep it so it's not repetitive or it's going to keep you constantly on your toes, but the way it's done, it just didn't feel right. There's no consistency to it, and for me, it took my enjoyment away from it. That, as well as the pacing problems in the last book for the series, which threw it off. It's probably my biggest disappointment of a series so far. In fact, it's one I put down before reading the very last light novel, unfortunately. I do intend to go back to read it eventually, but I just needed a break from it because the not the inconsistencies, the jumping backwards and forward just threw off my kind of immersion into the storyline. Okay, question 6. The biggest surprise of this year. So this is probably going back to question 1, and it's how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. Now, I had this on my TBR list for quite a while. I'd got it for my birthday back in April, and I was just putting it off picking it up just because I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it. I liked this overall, I liked the premise for it to some degree, but I wasn't quite sure how I'd like the pacing. I wasn't quite sure how the characters would work with each other, and it was one that I just kept on putting off. But I decided to pick it up, and I was completely blown away by the story. It is absolutely fantastic and one that I've loved, and it's one I'm going to be continuing to read and read and read. And there's plenty of light novels in that one. I believe there's currently 11 in English print at the moment, and they are still releasing them at the moment, so new ones are being brought out. So I cannot wait to actually get through the current backlog and then start waiting for the new ones to come in. Now, with that in mind, I'm looking at doing a review on this series, and I'm going to be doing a review on the first 4 books. Now, I'm not quite sure when I'm going to be getting these out, hopefully within the next week or two. The plan is to get it out the same week that I'm actually going to be premiering this video. So hopefully when you watch this on the Tuesday, it should be out on the Thursday. But that all depends on how my schedule has gone with work, and if I've ended up getting delayed due to kind of work commitments that are outside of my actual scope that I can't get around. So question number 7, your favorite new author, debut or new to you? So I hate to go back to this one, but it's How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. The main reason for that one is it's the only brand new series I picked up this year. I picked up a number of new series at the end of last year, and I've been working my way through those this year, so I wouldn't class those as new for this year. Now, I do have a number of new series that I am looking at starting this year, and I will hopefully have more authors to actually pick from in the future. It's just how it's worked out this year with how releases have gone and new series that have come out, and my reading list, I just haven't got through to those just yet. Question 8, newest fictional crush. So for this one, if you're talking about light novels, manga, anime kind of thing, we would call this best girl, or best boy, or waifu, or husbando. If I had to pick one, it would probably be, let's have a look. Probably again from A Realist Hero, because it is actually about relationships between the main character and other people, and it would be Juna. So here is the art in the front page. Juna is the middle one with the blue hair, so that's probably the only one I can potentially think of. In the book, the main character is the king, and it's a feudal kind of it's kind of like a medieval kind of kingdom, and he ends up having multiple fiancées. So there's multiple wives he needs to choose from in this one to rebuild the royal lineage, that kind of thing. It sounds a bit strange, but it's based on how things used to work, and they've written it really well. Not to the point where he takes wives just to actually continue the lineage, but each particular character actually has a point that actually balances well with him. So one is emotional support for him, one gives him the confidence to go on when he can't, another one helps him organize the kingdom and strategize and stuff like that. Each one has something to give to the relationship, and he has something to actually give back to them as well. It's actually a very good example of what a relationship where you have multiple partners could actually work, if it's something where all the parties involved all respect and love each other equally. Anyway, where was I? I think I went off on a bit of a tangent actually talking about that book when I didn't mean to. Anyway, so let's get back to this one. Question number 9. Newest favourite character. So let's try and go away from the books I've already mentioned. It would be, let me think. Oh, another new series I've picked up this year that I'd forgot about. It was pretty early on in the year, called Banished from the Heroes Party. The main character in this one, Red, I really enjoyed his character building and his arc. So that one's Red there, and you can see him again over there. So Red is the brother to the hero in the book. So the hero, as you can expect, is overpowered, and you don't actually see anything from the hero rarely in books 1 and 2, because you're actually following her brother. He originally joined the heroes party, but then later down the line he actually left. He was actually pushed out by somebody who's trying to monopolize the hero for all their gain and try and actually become the #1 person in the hero's life, where in fact it was her brother before. And he decides to actually go off and live a quiet life in the countryside, where he ends up opening a farm, an apothecary. And it's a really nice, down-to-earth kind of book with some adventure and some slice of life moments. And the way he's written is absolutely fantastic. You see his quirks, you see his strengths, his doubts, everything that makes him a human, and everything that makes it so you can understand the feelings of the character inside. So for me, he'd probably be my favourite character for this year. Okay, question 10. A book that made you cry. I'm not going to lie, there has been a few books that have made me cry this year, but there's been one that's actually made me bawl my eyes out. Now, I can't remember which volume it was. Let me hold on for a second. It was from Ascendance of a Bookworm. It was Ascendance of a Bookworm, Part 2, Volume 3, I believe. I absolutely bawled my eyes out to this one. The series itself is that well written. I got that emotionally invested in it, and when something happened within the book, I couldn't help but have my heart broken with it, even though it's not exactly a bad thing that happened, but it also is to another extent. It's a really hard one to actually describe without actually getting into spoiler territory for this one, and it's a series I want to reread again and post some reviews on, especially around the world building, the magic system, as well as reviews on the parts to the series themselves. So at the moment I've got parts 1 and part 2 in my collection, and I've just finished part 3 via ebook, and I'll be looking at getting those on paper version when they come out. So yeah, this is probably the one that made me cry the most, because I've been that emotionally invested in the characters and what happened in this book. While it's not overly sad in the long run, it breaks your heart in that particular moment. Question 11, a book that made you happy. I'm going to fob everybody up on this one and say all my books have made me happy. I can't think of one in particular that has actually made me happy. I've just had a fantastic year for reading, and nearly every single book I've picked up has brought a smile to my face, and I've enjoyed immensely. So for that one, I'm just going to be a cop-out and say all the books I've actually read this year. Okay, so question 11, the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year, or one you've received. For me, it's probably my Final Fantasy manga series I bought. Let me just grab them. So the covers on these are absolutely beautiful, I do say so myself. So that is cover 1. Cover 2. Cover 3. Four. And 5. I just think the artwork on those covers is absolutely amazing, and they probably stand out the most. And even when they're lined up next to each other. Again, the font they've used, the colouring they've used, all stand out, and I think they are probably the best covers I've got in my collection, definitely this year. Okay, and finally, the last question: what books do you need to read by the end of this year? So this is a long list because I've actually just done a book haul. If you'd like to see that book haul, please have a look at my other videos, and that'll give you a good example of all the books that I've got to get through this year, on top of some other stuff as well. So other books I've got other than what's in the book haul would be, let me just actually grab them for you. So So I've got all the books. Now, these aren't all the books I've got to read by the end of the year. These are the books that I actually own. I am getting a load more coming through because I have a repeat order on all of my series as when they come out. But for books I need to start this year, I've got a couple of manga here, The Apothecary Diaries. I've got books 1 and 2. I've got Beyond the Dome, a blue-collared hero. That's actually by a English light novel author, and it's one that I heard about while I was going through Instagram, and I connected with the author on there, so I'm looking forward to picking that one up and giving it a read. The next one is King of the Labyrinth. Again, this could probably go for one of the most beautiful art covers this year as well. This is another beautiful one, and that's book 1 in the series. I then got That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, the manga, number 1. I've then got Kakegurui, again another manga. I've been killing slimes for over 300 years and maxed out my level. I've got That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, the light novel as well. And then I've got In the Land of Lazadale. Again, another beautiful cover. And it's one thing I love about light novels and manga. A lot of the covers are absolutely stunning. But those are all the books on my current TBR list that I actually need to read that weren't in the book haul that I did the other day. Now, if you want to know what was in the book haul and those additional books, please have a look at the video and let me know what you think. Anyway, that's it for today's tag. I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's probably a bit longer than usual, so I hope you've stuck with me to the end, and I look forward to seeing you in my future videos. Bye for now, everybody.